Hi, I'm Rashid Eitman Al-Ahsan. So I'm going to be your instructor this semester. So this summer B is going to go fast. And in this video, I want to give you an idea about how the course is designed. So hopefully this way you understand the overall design idea behind the course so you can prepare yourself and know how to work with it. This is a chart that, it has been existing for a long time. It's done by a psychologist. It started with the psychologist. He did experimental. He's an experimental psychologist, and he did some experiments. I think with the word count and how many to memorize. Let's say if this is 100%, and with over time you'll see there is a decay, there is a drop, and the way the curve is coming, it's called a decay. And you'll see it at the end of the course as for the exponential functions. So there is a drop with the time, which means he was forgetting words with time, and this is, and we can call this is the forgetting curve, right? So let me just clean up this thing. To make it better. All right. So this is a forgetting curve, which means with time we forget things as we go, but it doesn't have to be that way. If there is an intervention, which is a review, we can review and go back to that 100%. And if you see if there is a decay after that or a decline, what happens with that forgetting curve, it's not as steep as the first one. Same thing if there is another intervention after a certain time, you see a gap of time here. And it goes back and back. But as you see at the end, the curve is much flattened. It's not as steep as the first one. So we may end up even near 100% there at this t time, whatever, later on. We still, this is used, for example, in medical school, and it's called spaced repetition, because you don't want the doctor, for example, to forget half of the knowledge, and treating patients. So they use this spaced repetition to recover what they learned, and with time, with these repetitions and this space of time and all that, one has the knowledge, and now you meet people with experience. Anything they talk about it like that, they know it. They don't have to review anymore. They don't have to see it, to go back to it. Yeah, so the goal is that. So the goal is, this is kind of bad situation, and this is kind of a good situation. So we have in our course this spaced repetition. And if you see, for example, a knowledge check and the system says, hey, now let's refresh. Let's see assess what you learned. After first week, second week, now at the third week, it's going to remind you again. Let's see that. Then that's the purpose. Let's put things together so we can do better. Just another idea here, a psychologist did this thing and came up with this. So, right, that tells you that if you are in psychology, you're going to use mathematics, probably beyond college algebra, even though college algebra is probably one of the math courses, maybe the last one or something, it depends, but keep your mind open. This is what I want to explain. Hospitality, digital media, engineering, whatever it is, think about math as a tool, a catalyst, something that's going to help you. That's something that's in your favor, not something that's opposite, right? The more positive you become with it, the more you try, the more you learn, the better it is. There is no way math is going to, come affect you negatively. It's only going to affect you positively. The only negative part that may happen is if it's incorrect. And that's why we're going to talk about that here. So overall idea of the course, there is the initial knowledge. When you log into the system, it's not a test, it's like a diagnostic assessment. So it's not graded, it's just to set the pipe. right? There is this much of things that you need to know into the course, so it's gonna check prior knowledge, right? What do we know coming into the course? And then we need to deal with this two ways. Is it positive? Is it what we know correct? Or is it negative, which means incorrect? If it's incorrect, we need to fix it. If there is a gap, we need to fix it, right? If it's positive, then it's good. It's just one step to help us going up. So that's kind of the idea. So this is your initial knowledge. Think about it that way. So you want to do it with your, you know, I would recommend to use a notebook so you keep track of it. Write questions that came up and all that. Then Alex will update the pie and tell you, okay, now you're gonna start your objective one. And in objective one, I noticed that you know 4 topics, then you don't have to do them, right? Or I noticed that I think you forgot more of this and this, so you need to do all, for example, 16 topics, something like that. So it's for you, it's in your favor, not something opposite. So that's the goal from prior knowledge. And this is good because we don't want, like usually when we meet on campus and some math course like this, let's think about you're not using this, and after 3 weeks we have a test and suddenly we find out that, oh yeah, because I didn't take math in 2 or 3 years, I forgot a lot of things and I didn't do well on this one. So you see, so we're trying to fix this from day one to figure out where we are and look into where we're going and address it. You're gonna have recorded lectures just like in this format, and I'm gonna talk about each objective and what we need to know and when you need to review and all that. Then you have class activities. The goal from them is, of course, that's spaced repetition, but they're like a quiz format with few questions on them. So maybe the first attempt, you should just try it, just like a test, right? Then you get results. You answered correctly, let's say 5 out of 7. Then that shows you, kind of what you know at that moment. Then you retake it. We have written notes in modules. So I recommend that everyone reads the written notes, do the same thing we did, which is to write own notes based on this. Why, when you do this, what happens is you're actually practicing, right? You're practicing and you're learning it while you're doing this. Then you go back and you take it again. There are 7 attempts there, but you're not gonna get into all these 7 attempts. But if you need to, that's fine. The goal here is not how many times you take it, this thing. The goal is to reach 100%, but to reach 100% with our effort. We feel that we did the best we can, for ourselves, right? Then office hours, we will use Zoom, just like this, but you can be live, of course. And this we'll talk about them when we get to syllabus. The weekly objectives is some type of form of adaptive homework. Just to, the difference between objectives and homework, regular homework, let's say in a math course, when you do homework, let's say you score 100%, then you keep 100% and you move on, and probably you won't see that homework again. Here, no, that's the difference. You get your 100%, you keep your 100%. That's why it's important to do your homework while you have access to it. But when the knowledge check comes, as I mentioned, the spaced repetition, if it sees, for example, in week 2, you forgot something from week 1, let's say 2 or 3 topics or 4, it's gonna give you back these topics to revisit. It doesn't change your grade, but it says, hey, you forgot factoring, let's factor again. And that's helpful for your future prior knowledge. When you move to another course or another domain where you need college algebra, now you have a better prior knowledge, right? So the goal, as we talked about, So let me go back to this curve and finish it now. As we get to this stage, if we connect all these dots, we get something called the learning curve. And we talked about, you talk about this all the time. You say, yeah, that was a learning curve to me, which probably we mean some repetition or it took a few times to get it right or something like that. So that's a, learning curve. So the purpose now, when we look at this learning curve, with these knowledge checks and this repetition and this, we want, when we leave the course, is our learning curve going to be, let's say this 100% here, or it's going to be here, or it's going to be here, stuff like this. We want it as high as possible because this is the knowledge that you're going to take forward. Then you have assigned knowledge checks. I'll talk about them. They're just like these knowledge checks, but they're done a little bit differently. And I'll talk about them when we get to syllabus and their grade and stuff. So everything here you can do at home. Nothing is timed here. The only thing that has to do with time is deadlines. We need deadlines so we can, pace with the course and finish on time and all that. But of course, if we run into issues, you need to let me know. But I need to see you logging into the course every day so you are on top of your work. And of course, if you're running into problems, you need to let me know and I'll work with you. But if you don't log in for 2 or 3 days or a day or two, then you say, well, this objective is, is beating me or something like that. That's not, a reasonable thing to say, because now you're trying to beat the due date, but, it's almost like laundry or something. We're trying to get something done, but it's huge, or at that time it's a lot for the given short time. And that's not how knowledge works. Knowledge takes time to process. And that's why with the class activity, with the recorded lectures, with the knowledge check, with the repetition, the spaced repetition and all that, everything is gonna take time to fit together so you have a better way to move forward, right? So this also idea helps with, although we don't have it here for our course right now, cramming for a test. And now we know why it doesn't work. Because cramming means you compact everything and you need now to give it back, kind of like on a test. And that's not the purpose from the test. It's not to give it back. It's to demonstrate, articulate, the knowledge and the understanding of it. So if this decay drops quick, with the brain gets tired and staying up all night, this curve is going to go as steep as it's going to be even worse, right? And somebody says, I studied all night and I got 50%. This test is not good, right? Well, no, that's not that's not what happened. What happened is the brain just got tired. There's too much in it for too little of time. So I hope you see all this, and if try to fit it together with how the course is working and how it's designed. So you try to make your plan for it and work with it so it's helpful. And we don't have 15 weeks or 16 weeks, so there is that flexibility of logging in after 2 days or 3 days or something. That's not the case here. So to close this video, please read your syllabus to understand the expectations. Although we don't have like a proctor test and all this, doesn't mean the course is just going to be easy or something. Everything is just the way we see it. Some students tell me this is easy even if we had tests. That's fine. Some say it's difficult even though when we had tests. That's fine. We see things differently. We need to be prepared. The more prepared, the better view we have, the better opinion we're gonna give as well. I welcome, of course, your input, your opinion, and you're gonna give input and opinion to other students, future students. But of course, let's do our parts, and from there, so if we pass on this idea, it should be correct, right? We invested time in it. And so knowing the syllabus helps. The expectations, the deadlines, as I mentioned, there is nothing at the time. It helps because you sit comfortably and you work on it. But of course, you want to log in ahead of time, not when it's close to, you know, something due at 11 p.m. and now you have a class activity and you have objective or something, and they're like, why I have two things due on the same time? You know, so please pace yourself, log in, figure out what it is. If anything of this not clear, let me know. I'll help you understand and work with it or make a plan. So you need to get your access code. Of course, we worked over time. The first time I taught this, the access code was like $160 or something. Right now we're thinking for Summer B, looks like $40 with the ebook and you know, the access of videos and all that. So that's a very good progress that we all made. So what do you need to do? You need to make, I mentioned this several times, make it part of the routine, and here, of course, a daily routine. Consider time blocking, although it's a daily routine, but you need to block a time for it. Too much distraction is not going to be helpful. Of course, the procrastination there is not going to be helpful. It's not going to be helpful. Let's just put it that way. This Summer B is going to finish and you'll be like, what happened now? So let's get it done. We can do well. Every summer we do well, right? Probably every summer we've done really well, right? Everybody's energized. Everybody has a stronger goals, objectives to get this thing done and moving, right? But of course, I have to say everything around it to make sure that if we come with the idea that, of course, you know, with everything that's happening now, that I may do this and do this and do this, or take advantage of this remote instruction and take 5 courses or something, that's not going to be wise, because now things are going to conflict. And when they conflict, then they will crash down. So that's why I want to tell you about this, and you can ask me questions or ask your advisor questions, especially if you're thinking to take more than 2 courses. Believe, of course, in yourself. This is a very essential point. All this we do starts with this. Why believing in yourself is very important, because there is a confusion between 2 things: ability and effort. And I can talk about these for hours, but I'll keep it short for you now. Ability is believing in doing something, right? And effort is the work or time that we put in, right? What is the difference between the 2? If you are in this course, which you're watching my video, it means you are in this course, then the ability is there. So we should not question this, right? That's the way you need to think about it. Now, what you need to work on is the effort, right? Right there. And the effort requires time. And I talked about time for a long time now, for so many times, because time is just going to be the main factor here. So you're going to put effort, and that effort requires, of course, time, which means you're going to invest time, you're going to make time, right? There is no such thing as I don't have time, right? Time is just there. You just have to make it, right? Otherwise, everybody would say, I don't have time, right? It's easy to say, but time is absolute thing. It's just passing, and you need to make time. So you make time. When you make time, which means you plan, then in this plan, you're gonna do the effort. And when you do your effort, you're learning, you're fixing, you're polishing things, whatever it is that's needed, you're remembering now things, you're reminding yourself, you're correcting the prior knowledge on all that stuff. So this is what we're working on here. Ability is not something that we can discuss it if you want to, but I give you a very simple, brief thing for it. If you are in this course, then you deserve to be in this course. You are at this course level, but everyone, of course, may not be exactly the same. We're all different. Some will forget factoring, some will forget fractions. That has nothing to do with the ability, just has to do with the first curve we talked about, which is that forgetting things. Or it has to do with the prior knowledge. Yeah, I never actually learned correctly the order of operations, but that has nothing to do with the ability of us being able to do well in this course, right? If you want to do well in this course, the equation is very simple. You put you put the effort, and of course you make time. So that's it. So this is, I put a check on it, it's done. So we need to work on this. Everybody has to work on it. I have to work on it as well, right? If I didn't put time and work on this video, I could choose not even to have this video, but I made time to make this video. Not everyone is gonna watch this video. That I know that, I understand that, but for those who are gonna watch it, for those who are gonna be interested in it, I put time and I wrote it, and I went through the details that I feel that's gonna help you overall thinking about the course. And I can tell you something with my videos. I know now the viral thing, and the video has to be a minute or something. I don't go with that. I go with what I think is necessary or essential to get the point across, with the examples, with the steps. And that video could be 10 minutes, it could be 5 minutes, it could be 20 minutes, it could be an hour. It's up to you, of course, how to deal with the video. Of course, an hour video, you can watch it in 2 minutes, right? Or you can watch it in an hour. It doesn't matter. So just explain also to you my side of it. So when you see a video that's like 45 minutes, it just because that's how I believe it should be done. And of course, it's up to you how you want to deal with it. And if there is parts in it that you have question about, or you think they're not relevant, you can move past those parts, whatever, whatever works for you, that's the goal. You have all the resources, and whatever works for you that's the important part. We're all here for one goal, is success, right? And if we're here for success, how do we measure this? And how can we, say, well, all the videos should be 2 minutes in order to achieve success? There is no relationship between this and this. Success is achieved through different things that we're going to talk about. Some of them I talked about, and some other things in syllabus and the expectations, right? So you are not alone, of course, although with what's going on, you still have all your resources, campus resources, access to everybody. You have access to, you can ask for help anytime. If you're not sure, you can ask me, I'll find out for you. But every resource on campus is still available, and please know that, and and just reach out, and we'll help you. And of course, join office hours. If you have questions, send them, come to office hours, ask them, you know. And I mentioned that here, and I also talked about how mathematics transform our thinking when I talked about that, those examples. We need to think far ahead, not a short period of time. I just need to pass this course. I just need to this. That's a very not so helpful thing, because it just tackles now, and it may hinder a lot of things that's going to come up. So we need to think about this chance of learning math, learning how the thinking works, thinking about if you go to be hired, and right there, that's it. You passed all the interviews, and now the last interview, they say, yeah, we want to figure out problem solving, whether you have problem solving or not. If we have these two things, you know, and they cost this amount of dollars, what can we do with them? You know, for example, it's going to be a very trivial, simple thing, but they want to see whether you're going to figure out. And to figure out is to take this chance, something like this, to actually outline what we have and what we need to do. All right, so there is logical reasoning. There is appreciation for quantitative and qualitative. Hopefully in the future you go to grad school and you do all this research, and you always feel good about achieving something. You know, I feel good about achieving something. I'm sure you feel good about achieving something. You know, you can help somebody else. This is very essential. So sometimes you're not learning something just for yourself. This is very essential. You're learning it to help other people. All right? So think about it. That's very important. Now, somebody is going to struggle, and you're going to say, oh, yeah, I'll show you how to do it. Okay? So think about that moment. Most important all is, I talked about it, is all doors open. Math helps you to get all the doors open, not to close the doors, right? All right, thank you, and we'll see you on next ones.